Welcome back, viewers, to another gardening tutorial brought to you by the Intertribal Extension Services. My name is Aubrey Anderson, and today we're going to be going over the basics on how to plant your bare root strawberries in the early spring. I'd like to start off by discussing the three different varieties of strawberries that you can purchase at your local greenhouse or over the website. You can order them online as well and get them through the mail. And the three varieties we have available to us is going to be your June bearing, which give you one large crop of strawberries. We also have our day neutrals, which is a preferred variety because they give you a continuous crop of strawberries throughout your gardening season. And then we're going to be planting the Ozark Beauty Everbearing strawberry today. It is also a most preferred brand among the everbearing varieties because it sets off very large sweet fruits. We're going to be planting our strawberries in the raised bed that we have designated already, filled with compost and soil mixed up. The compost that I have is a mushroom-based compost, and it's just going to amend for a lot of really great organic matter and nutrients that our strawberry plants are really going to appreciate later on down the road. So best to do about a 12 to 18 inch spacing for your holes when you're planting the strawberry roots, and leave an alternating pattern. That way you can take the new growth of your strawberries and just kind of tease those along as they get longer and fill in those gaps that you left prior. And that, well, you designated them for a reason, so we may as well fill them in, right? And get you a good bed of strawberries going for years to come. So a few essential tools that you're going to need for this section is a gardening hand trowel, as well as some sharp pruning shears or some office scissors, just anything you have available to trim your plants with, as well as a measuring tool, so we can measure the depth of our hole as well as the length of our root. Over here I have a blue tub filled with cool water, and I'm soaking my plants before planting about upwards of an hour. And the reason that we do that is so that we have a good rehydrated root structure that is less likely to shock during transplant. So once you've allowed your plants to soak for the recommended hour, you want to go ahead and get ready to trim those roots up. And the way you do that is this is a really good one. It has a lot of root structure on it, as you can see. We've actually got upwards of about, it looks like, wow, 9 inches of root growth. That's a really healthy plant that I got sent through the mail, so I'm really happy with that. But I actually don't need all that root, and it would get tangled up with any of my new growth in this raised bed. We're planting them in the alternating rows, and I don't want everything to get tangled up, and so I'm going to go ahead and trim this root stock actually to about 4 to 6 inches. And you can do that like with your pruning shears. Just go ahead and just snip it at that area. This is about 8 inches, so I'm going to go halfway. Like so. And as you can see, I've measured it just right below the crown, and we've got a good 4 inches of rootstock there to work with. And once you've done that, you want to get your hole dug with your hand trowel. I've pre-designated spots for our plants. That way we can move the process along a little bit quicker. But if you are going from spot to spot, just make sure we're spacing those the 12 to 18 inches apart. The crown of the strawberry plant is very important. It's where all our new growth comes from. So we don't want to bury it and onset any fungal or rot growth or anything like that. Fungal growth, rot, anything that's going to hinder our new growth. We want to try to avoid that. So when you are transplanting down into your hole, just make sure you set it down just enough for the root structure. Notice we cut about 4 to 6 inches of root, and our hole is just about the same depth. So you have a pretty good guide if you cut your roots about the depth of the hole you want. So that's a pretty good marker to go by as well. But you want to amend that hole with your soil just below the crown, as you can see. If your crown's exposed, rather, it'll dry out. If you cover it up, it'll rot. So it's kind of a happy medium. Just allow your crowns to be exposed, but also firmly planted roots. So once you've done that, I can assure you, you'll see a very bountiful crop of strawberries in the spring. And you can move along and move your strawberries runners. As they get older and more mature, they're going to shoot off little babies, and you can actually start teasing those right across, as I mentioned previously. And that's why I've created these empty spaces between. So it's a really good idea if you're doing raised beds, and I hope it's successful for you in your strawberry beds. Okay folks, so there you have it, just a few simple steps to get your strawberry plants from bare root to raised bed. As you can see, I have quite a few holes to plug in for the rest of the afternoon, so I get to do that for the rest of my day. I recommend that you thoroughly water each plant as you go along, just to make sure that they are getting enough moisture during the transplant phase and that they don't shock or wilt on you. So we'll do that as we go along. Looks great. Thank you again for watching, and we really appreciate your support. We hope this information was useful when you go to plant your strawberry bed. Happy gardening!